Yes, I have Christmas lights now. Welcome back. Today I'll be ranking every single book that I read in November and talk about a few books that I'm currently reading and 2 books that I plan to read in December, which is now this month. I'm going to start right up with my absolute favorite book that I read in November. It was actually a reread. And of course, this is my favorite book ever. It is The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. Fantastic book. Enjoyed my reread. It's my favorite book ever. Every time that I read it, I never get tired of it. It's so good. All the emotional moments of it are still emotional no matter how many times I read it. And it doesn't have the happiest ending. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but this book does not have a happy ending. It has a very tragic ending. It's so beautifully written, and I love this book so much. And because I couldn't help myself, I went along and reread Beren and Luthien. This book is Tolkien's favorite of all of his works. This is the story that Tolkien wrote that he loved the most. This was Tolkien's absolute favorite story out of all the stories that he wrote. Better than Lord of the Rings, better than The Hobbit. And this is the story that he put most of his heart and soul into. The love story of a mortal man named Beren who fell in love with an immortal elf named Luthien. And now this book actually has several different versions of the same story because Tolkien wrote and rewrote the story so many times because he was never satisfied with one version. And so he would write one version, revise it heavily, go through a few more drafts of it, and then decide, no, I'm going to write a different version of this. So it has all these different versions of it. It has it told in the Book of Lost Tales. It has it told in prose, and then it also has it told in poetry, which it's called the Lay of Leithian. It's a very, very long narrative poem that recounts this story, and I love the Lay of Leithian. My favorite poem of all time, and it's a very long poem. It's actually an unfinished one. Tolkien got over 3,000 lines of it, and then he gave it up, which was really a shame because it was drawing near the end of the poem, and it's such a great poem as well. Really unfortunate that Tolkien abandoned it, but at least we have what we have. I love the poem, this entire book, absolutely brilliant, 10 out of 10. And then the next one was also a reread. I promise you the next book on this list wasn't a reread, but this book was also a reread of one of my favorite books, Prince Landor and the Dragon War by S.D. Smith. S.D. Smith is the author of the Green Ember series, which I have right here, and the Jack Zulu series, which I have the first book right here, and a few other stories, including Mooses with Bazookas, The Found Boys, and other children's stories. And if you haven't read any of S.D. Smith's works, I highly recommend them. He's my second favorite author next to Tolkien, and I actually met him once a few years back. He signed all of my books, if you can see right there, handwritten signature. This Green Ember series takes place in a world where there are rabbits. As far as I know, there are no humans in this world. The land is called Natalia, and it's basically the tale of a bunch of rabbits fight against hawks and wolves and Komodo dragons, which are enemies of the rabbits. Such a great series. I read this series 5 or 6 years back, and I've reread it through so many times, and I've never stopped loving it. This especially is one of my favorite Green Ember books, and I'm also giving it 10 out of 10. The next one was a first-time read. It was also a Green Ember book. It is The Green Ember, Helmer and the Dragon Tomb. This is S.D. Smith's new book. I pre-ordered it, signed, first edition, and it came on release day, which was November 10 or 11, I think. And so this is the story of one of the most beloved characters in the main Green Ember series. This is sort of like a prequel, and it tells the story of Helmer, who is absolutely my second favorite character in the Green Ember series, my first being Joe Shanks. But Helmer is such a great character, and a very mysterious character as well. Throughout the entire Green Ember series, not much at all is revealed about his past. And in this book, we get to hear about his childhood. The entire story is told from his perspective. It's basically the story of Helmer's childhood when he was just living on his farm with his sister and his father. This was a fantastic book. I ended up finishing it in 2 or 3 days, and I loved every second of it. There was a very, very surprising plot twist near the end that completely came out of nowhere that I was not expecting. S.D. Smith did such an amazing job with this, and I cannot wait until he writes the rest of this trilogy. He says he wants to make a Helmer trilogy. I cannot wait for the rest of this book. This book was so, so, so good. I highly recommend it. Probably my third or second favorite Green Ember book, I have to say. This was so good. I enjoyed every second of it. 10 out of 10. And then the next one is a book that I've been wanting to read for a very long while, that I've had recommended to me many times on this channel by you guys. The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. George MacDonald is considered to be the grandfather of fantasy. He wrote like some of the first fairy tales, among which is this. Man, this book was such a delightful read. I read this book in 2 days. It was such a delightful read. And Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were very big fans of George MacDonald. And I could definitely see reading certain bits of this, how this book influenced J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. It's written very much in the style of The Hobbit, and there's one scene from The Hobbit especially when Gandalf, the dwarves, and Bilbo are captured by goblins, and the scene where they're trying to run away from the goblins. I feel like that was very much inspired by this book. Such a delightful read that I really enjoyed, and I can definitely see how it influenced Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, who are some of my favorite authors. 10 out of 10. Next up is a very well-known classic. I did a review of this book a while back, a week or two back, if you're interested in seeing that. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I'm not going to say too much on this book because I already did a review of it. This book is very, very long. It's 767 pages. This is a very long book, and probably only 200 or 300 of those pages is actually a story, and the rest is just interesting facts about whales. But I still enjoyed this book. I enjoyed a lot of the whaling tangents, even though they just went on and on and on and dragged on and on. I found a lot of the tangents about whales to be very fascinating.
Whale biology, the whaling industry, the glory and honor of whaling, the exact measurement of the whales, including their skeletons.
All this random stuff about whales. I actually really enjoyed a lot of these tangents, but after a while, it started to grow very wearisome. And man, the ending was so good. If not for the ending of this book, I think I probably would have rated it a bit lower. But for the ending, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I can definitely see why it's regarded as highly as it usually is, and I really love this book overall. It took me a rather long time to get through, but I still enjoyed it, and the ending was very, very good. 9 out of 10. And you can watch my full review on this book if you're interested in hearing my full thoughts on it. Next is The Dragon Reborn, book 3 in the Wheel of Time. Started the Wheel of Time series a month or two ago. It's a very long fantasy series. There's 14 books in it, and 1 prequel. That is a lot of books, and all of these books in the series are not short. They're all 700, 800 pages. I am loving the Wheel of Time so much, and this book was no different. It was a little bit slow-paced, but I didn't mind that much. It wasn't incredibly slow-paced like the Stormlight Archive is, which I still love the Stormlight Archive books, but I feel like the author, Brandon Sanderson, tried to make them as slow-paced as he possibly could because he just wants to make these books as long as he can. I don't get that impression really much with The Wheel of Time, and I really enjoyed this book. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series. I'm loving The Wheel of Time so much. I have been hooked on the series ever since I first read page 1 a month or two ago, and this book was really good. Fantastic ending. I feel like the middle did drag on a little bit, but still, great book. Really enjoyed it. 9 out of 10. And the next one is a book that I had to read for school, but I surprisingly ended up enjoying a lot. Tanglewood Tales by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So yeah, this is 6 Greek myths retold by Mr. Nathaniel Hawthorne, who is a very well-known author of classic works. And I love Greek mythology. I prefer Norse mythology, but Greek mythology is great as well. And all of the stories in this book I really enjoyed. Fantastic. I especially enjoyed the Pygmies one. That one was so good. But there were some of these stories that I feel like weren't as good as others. Like there was the story of the dragon's teeth. That story, the story of the dragon's teeth, was very good, and I really enjoyed it. Until the ending. The ending was so lame. It set everything up really, really well with a very intriguing mystery, but then threw it all away for a very, very rushed ending, and the mystery was never even explained. And I don't know, I think there's several different versions of all these stories, because at the beginning there was the story of the Minotaur, and it was a bit different, because I read another version of the story of the Minotaur. I can't remember where or when exactly, but I read another version of the Minotaur, which was very different than the Minotaur story in this book. So yeah, but overall, a really good book, and most of the myths in here I enjoyed, but 2 or 3 of them didn't have the best endings, but still, overall, really enjoyed Tanglewood Tales, and definitely a book I would recommend. 8 out of 10. The next 2 books are also rereads. They're part of the Tales of Old Natalia series, which is a prequel trilogy to the Green Ember series. Takes place, I think, 300 years before the Green Ember series. I have The Wreck and Rise of Whitsun Mariner. I don't know why I reread these books. I just saw them on my bookshelf once and decided, why not reread them? And here, I should probably get the first book too. So, Tales of Old Natalia, Book 1, The Black Star of Kingston, and Tales of Old Natalia, Book 2, The Wreck and Rise of Whitsun Mariner. And the Tales of Old Natalia series, I feel like, with the exception of Prince Lander and the Dragon War, that last book is so good, as I mentioned before earlier on in this video. But I feel like the Tales of Old Natalia series is the weakest of S.D. Smith's books. Now, they're not bad books. They're all definitely still really, really good books. I just feel like they're not near as good as a lot of S.D. Smith's other books. This one is my least favorite Green Ember book. Again, still a good book, just not really as good as S.D. Smith's other books. These 2 books were still very good. I enjoyed my reread of them. Really fantastic books. Of course, S.D. Smith is my second favorite author, but I definitely feel like they're nowhere near on the level of some of his other books. This next book I also had to read for school. It is Introductory Logic. This book is huge, and ignore the 6-7 written on the edges of the pages. So this is kind of like a workbook. It has questions and that you have to fill out and stuff. But overall, it's like a book that you read. Going through this book for school, I did not enjoy it because, it's a school book. It was tedious, it was tiresome, and difficult to understand, because this book, even though it says introductory logic, it delved really, really, really deeply into all the complexities of formal and informal logic and logical fallacies and all this. So, yeah, definitely not like something that I enjoyed, but I think something that will definitely help me later on in life, because there's some things that you learn for school that you don't think you're ever going to need, and there's other things that you are. Logic is definitely something I'm going to need in my life. Logic is something everyone needs in their lives. And you see logical fallacies literally everywhere. They're basically in every single ad that I've seen. I guarantee you that the ad you saw right before watching this video had at least 1 or 2 logical fallacies in it. I can't think of a single advertisement I've seen that doesn't have a logical fallacy in it. It's actually crazy. And you see it all the time, everywhere, with people just debating about various topics, and they bring up so many logical fallacies, and it's difficult not to. I use so many logical fallacies myself, and I only realized it once I started studying logic for school. And like, I'll have conversations with other kids my age that I just meet out and about in public somewhere, and they bring up even more fallacies than I do. So they'll be talking to me, they're like, "Oh, what games do you play?" I say, "I don't play video games." And then I basically get bullied for not playing video games, and they also bully me for reading for fun, which is kind of ridiculous. And I asked them, "Well, why don't you like reading?" They said, "Well, because books are just boring." Hey, quick interjection here. I'm talking more about a few years ago when I was bullied for reading, and it hasn't happened in a long time yet. It's honestly sad to see how many people these days literally never read. I am the person I am now because of books. I think the way that I do because of books. Oh, and the problem with other kids my age saying that books are just boring, they're probably only saying that because the books that they read for school are boring. I don't really enjoy a ton of the books that I read for school, but I love reading for fun. And the fallacy in that is that they've read maybe like 20 books for school, let's say, and they were all boring, but that doesn't mean that the hundreds of millions of books out there are boring. Just because a part of something is something, that doesn't mean that the rest of that something is the same. If you listen to 5 songs and they're all terrible, then that's like saying, oh, these 5 songs were terrible, so then, therefore, all songs are terrible. But anyway, I've interjected long enough. Back to the video. People use so many logical fallacies these days. Everyone uses logical fallacies. And everyone needs logic in their lives to enrich their lives. Seriously, this is very tedious to go through, but I have to admit, it's definitely going to help me later on in life. Logic is something that I will need every day of my life, literally. So yeah, tedious to work through, as most school books are, but definitely something that I think will enrich my life, especially later on. The next one is another book I had to read for school, one that I did not enjoy near as much, The American Experience Storybook. Now this just has like a bunch of brief biographies, like 20-page biographies on all these like famous American figures like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, and I don't like history in general, especially American history. And like there were a lot of people in this book that I think were great people, like Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was an absolute genius, and George Washington, of course, our first president. All these other people, but then there were some other random people in this book that I feel like don't deserve to be counted among American heroes. There was one Douglas MacArthur who fought in World War II, and like he was very brave, but he didn't really do anything notable. He was just in a plane that was in World War II. That's literally the only reason he was in this book. And there was one person in this book, what was her name? Molly Pitcher, who I think she was like a medic on the battlefield or something. I can't remember which war this was. Some American war, 1800s or 1700s or something like that. And her husband was like shot down, and then she took over her husband's cannon and like shot at the other soldiers. And like that's a very brave thing to do. But then like later on, it says Molly Pitcher was like bragging about what she did, taking over the cannon, shooting down the soldiers, and then she really stretched a lot of the facts. And I don't feel like she deserves to be in this book. I don't think she deserved to be in this book. And there were a couple of other people too, like Henry Ford, who made, affordable cars for everyone, but Henry Ford was such a jerk in real life. So, did not enjoy this book. Some of the stories in this book about certain American figures I enjoyed, but I'm not over fond of history or American history at all in general. So, overall, not a great book, and I'll give it 6 out of 10. The last one is surprisingly a book that I thought I would enjoy a lot better since it is such a classic. It is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This book was interesting, but I don't see why it's considered such the classic that it is. I mean, I don't know. All the characters had terrible morals, and the story was just very difficult to follow for me. And overall, I didn't really enjoy this book. I found it to be a bit confusing at times, and all the characters had terrible morals. Overall, I just didn't enjoy it that much. I'll give this one 5 out of 10, actually. Surprisingly, I thought I would really enjoy this. It's such a classic, but I didn't end up enjoying it near as much as I thought I would. So yeah, that's my least favorite book that I read this month. So there, that was a lot of books. Did do a lot of reading this past month, and now I'll talk about 4 books that I'm currently reading. The first book that I'm in the middle of is The Holy War by John Bunyan. I'm on page 50. So far, this is a fantastic book. I think this book is even better than The Pilgrim's Progress. And Pilgrim's Progress is a fantastic book written by the same author, but I think this book is actually going to beat it. It's really, really good, very deep and thought-provoking as well, and I definitely want to do a book review of it once I finish it. Could take me a while to get through, though, because... gack, the bookmark just slid out. Because this is more of a book that's meant to be slowly savored over a long amount of time, and I don't want to really speed through it, because I feel like I'll miss a lot of important stuff. So it could take me a while to get through this book, maybe a month or 2 months, I don't know, but once I finish it, I will do a book review of it. So far, really enjoying this book, though. This next one, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I only started this, like, yesterday, I think, and I'm only on page 26, chapter 4. This is my first introduction to Charles Dickens. I've read hardly any Charles Dickens at all. I started Oliver Twist like a few years ago, but then for some reason just never finished it. I'm enjoying Great Expectations so much. There's a decent amount of humor in it, but also a depth behind it and a really, really fascinating plot and storyline and characters. I'm already really attached to the main character. And yeah, this book is longer than the average size novel. It's almost 500 pages. So far, I'm very much enjoying Great Expectations. There's a lot of humor and a lot of seriousness at times, and deeper undertones to some of the humor, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Next is The War of the Jewels, Volume 11 in the History of Middle-earth series. I'm on page 232. Hopefully I'll be able to finish it this month. I don't know, I might finish it in January, but I'm not so sure yet, because again, like as with the Holy War, the History of Middle-earth series is not a series that you can speed run through. It's a series that's slowly meant to be savored and taken small bites out of, so you can really understand everything this book is trying to say and get the full experience and enjoyment out of it. So yeah, great book. I'm about halfway through, maybe a little less. No, I'd say that's about halfway through. Really enjoying it. And I've also started rereading The Fall of Gondolin. What else is there to say? Great book, one of my favorite books. Tolkien, my favorite author, of course. And, you know, I just looked at these books on the shelf one day and decided, why not reread them? So that's what I'm doing now. I just reread all these random Tolkien books whenever I feel like it. So, yeah, great book. And then, one book that I plan to read this month is written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Surprise! And it is going to be a reread. It is Letters from Father Christmas. I reread this Tolkien book every Christmas. It's a great Tolkien book for Christmas. I did a book review of this book a year back, around this same time as well, with these same lights on the bookshelf behind me. You can go watch that if you want to. Letters from Father Christmas. So during Tolkien's lifetime, Tolkien had 4 children, and each year he would write letters to them that were supposedly from Father Christmas, or as us Americans call him, Santa Claus. So yeah, Tolkien wrote all these letters to his children around Christmas time that he said were from Father Christmas, and it's so fascinating how Tolkien pretty much created an entire other secondary world with Father Christmas and the North Pole, the North Polar Bear. This is such a great book. If you're looking for like winter book recommendations or Christmas book recommendations, read Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. A delightful, lighthearted Tolkien book that I absolutely love. And the next is this book by Charles Dickens. Well, this actually has 5 books in it. Let me see. It has A Christmas Carol, The Chimes, The Cricket on the Hearth, The Battle of Life, and The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, all by Charles Dickens. This is like a book that has all of Charles Dickens' Christmas stories in it. I really, really want to read this for December, especially A Christmas Carol. I've heard a lot about A Christmas Carol, and I do actually have to read it for a book club, so if I won't read all the other novels, or they're more of like novellas in this book, I will definitely read The Christmas Carol. Looking forward to reading this, since I'm really enjoying Great Expectations right now. So, there you are. Those are all the books I read in November, all the books I'm currently reading, and the books I plan to read in December. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you want to hear my short story. I feel like it's too long to be called a short story, but too short to be called a novella. It's 30 pages. It's called The Worst of Times. I wrote this short story just one day because I felt like it. And I decided, why not read it aloud on my channel for 5,000 subscribers? And I'm at 4.5 thousand subscribers now. So I only need 500 more subscribers, and I'll be at 5,000 subscribers, which will be crazy. And you will also get to hear me read my sort of science fiction short story to you, called The Worst of Times, about a man who travels into the future to the year 2098. So if you want to hear my science fiction short story, my time travel story, please subscribe if you want to, and watch the sort of teaser trailer, I guess you would call it, that I dropped about a week ago. You can watch that if you're interested. So anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching this video, and for now, farewell.